Hello friends, today we are making a black magic cake. It is for my uncle's birthday. His birthday is tomorrow, which is February 2nd. So in this cup I have 1 3/4 cup all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. And I'm just going to pour that right into our bowl. And then I am going to add, where'd it go? Oh, a cup of brown sugar and a cup of white sugar. I'm going to put that in the bowl. Oh. Had a chunk at the bottom that didn't want to come out. And then to this mixture, I am also going to add in 3/4 cup of cocoa powder. A black magic cake is basically a super chocolatey cake. We're going to mix all this together and then we will form a well. Sorry, this part is hard one-handed, so I might just pause this here and magically come back when we're ready. Alright, so once your ingredients are well incorporated, you go ahead and make a well in the middle for your wet ingredients. Doesn't have to be a perfect well, just a good sized well, you know. And then from here we will add, hang on, I gotta figure out how to hold this with my right hand. I'm very left dominant, so holding things and doing things with my right hand is weird for me. So from here we will add 2 eggs, which are over here, right into the middle of our well. Oh, I'm so glad that didn't get any shell in it. A good one-handed crack. I love it. Let's see if, yeah, can do just as well with the second. Then we'll set our eggs aside. And then we will add a cup of buttermilk. So, pro tip, if you do not want to buy buttermilk, because it can tend to be expensive, and you only need a cup of buttermilk for this recipe, so if you're not making a bunch of other recipes with the buttermilk, there's no point in buying it. You can take 1 cup of regular milk, like either whole or 2%. I prefer whole milk. And then you can put a tablespoon of white vinegar in it, and it comes out, it's a little bit more than a cup, but a cup and a tablespoon. But it comes out, and it's a great substitute. So we'll just go ahead and, pour that in there too. And then we also have a cup of very strong brewed coffee. I used Colombian roast because that's what we have on hand. It'll taste delicious with any. That's part of the magic, I swear. Caffeine. Caffeine in a cake. And then our last ingredient is 1/2 cup of vegetable oil and 1 teaspoon, but I always put a little extra in because I love vanilla, but the recipe calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And then you go ahead and you pour that in. I love how it looks. It looks so weird and gross, but it turns out so delicious. So then you fold this in, and I cannot do that one-handed. So I'm going to pause this and come back when we're ready to pour into our cake pans. I'm using 2 9 by 1.5 inch circular cake pans. And then there's a parchment paper trick where if you make a square out of the parchment paper and then you fold it up and it makes like a triangle, you cut it and it comes out to a perfect circle. I don't know how that works, but It's black magic. Ha ha ha. See what I did there? Such a bad joke. Okay, I'm going to pause now. Okay. So what I meant by the trick was you take a piece of kind of square as you can get parchment paper, fold it in half again. This is such a good trick. I love it. And then fold it corner to corner. I usually always mess this up, but I'm going to try really hard to do it well for you guys. And then once you have it to like this size, go to the, flip your pan over, go about to the middle. I think that's like the middle-ish. And then cut it. And we'll see if this came out like I hope it came out. Okay, it's fairly... it did this time! It worked perfectly this time. That's fantastic. And then you can just put your cake batter in, and it makes it so easy to get the cake out. So, I try to always make the cakes as even as possible, so I'm going to take my 1 cup and scoop it out, make it level with my spatula, and then pour it in. Make sure that everything in the 1 cup is out and into the pans. And then I'll keep going back and forth until I have no more batter. Alright, they are battered. My pans are battered. I did the little tapping trick. It's not very well. There we go. Did the little tapping trick, and now they are ready to be put in the oven at 350 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. I couldn't remember, so I had to check the recipe real quick. Which, since I did this at the table and it's very liquidy, I'm going to ask Jeremiah to help me get them into the oven because one-handed wheeling is difficult. So, I'll see you guys when they're baked. Okay, this part's a little dangerous for a girl to film who's in a wheelchair, and like, I'm bending over the open oven, but just use a toothpick. He came out clean. He's perfectly cooked. I'm gonna stop filming now because I don't want to fall into the oven and burn myself. So I'm just gonna let them cool on the stove for a couple minutes, and then I will put them onto cooling racks. And yes, I've got butter on the stove trying to get it to soften up so I can make homemade frosting. I forgot to take it out last night before I went to bed. Otherwise it would be done already and I could make the frosting. But I gotta let the cake cool anyhow, so we're just gonna let that cool and then we will come back later. Can you see that steam pulling off? It is so satisfying. I'm gonna take this little chunk off the side here. It's a really delicious cake. We're just gonna let these cool until they're, you know, like room temperature-ish, and then we will frost the cakes. I'm used to making cupcakes, so I almost said cupcakes. For the frosting, I like to start with 1 stick of butter and make sure that it is nice and creamy. It is beautifully creamy right now. And then I'll go ahead and put in 2 cups of powdered sugar and about 3/4 cup of cocoa powder. And then we will put that together, mix that together, and gradually we'll add a 1/4 cup of milk and then a tablespoon of vanilla. Alright, I totally forgot that a single batch makes such a small amount of frosting that, you know, I don't know. I like a good chunk of frosting on my cake. Not like too thick, but I want it to be noticeable. And I know other people do too in my family. So I made a double batch. It'll turn out looking like this palish brown color. It's good consistency. And we're going to, I put my first cake down on a plate, a dinner plate, because I couldn't get a platter out. Oh god, I can't do this one-handed. I'm just gonna put a dollop of frosting here, frost the bottom, or the top of this one, of the bottom layer, and then I'll put the top layer on and frost the rest of the cake, and you'll see it when it's all done. After I finished frosting the cake, I just put some sprinkles on because decorating cakes is not my forte, but it's got a good layer of frosting on it, and it looks delicious, and I still have a bit of frosting left, so I'll save that. I'll put it in a container and then have it like with graham crackers or something. Frosting and graham crackers are the ultimate bestest nighttime snack. Alright, so that's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed making this black magic birthday cake with me. See you next time!